Before we start the podcast, I want to say something really quick. Stay till the very end. Mary and I are going to play a game where we pick who the final three is going to be. Mary has her own final three. I have my own final three. They're not the same. So stick to the end for that, and you'll find out what is the next video I'm posting. If you don't already know, it's an exciting one. All right, let's get with the podcast. Welcome to the Once Upon an Island podcast. I'm your host, Wesley, and of course, I am joined by my co-host,
Mary.
All right, Mary. This was an exciting week. I know some people might be wondering, hey, I thought you could do a podcast every week from the merge on, and that's a great question. Last week, there was a family visit. You may have seen that, and I was utterly confused at the end of last week's episode.
Utterly confused?
Utterly confused. Like almost like a cow udder, Udderly. I was utterly confused.
Why?
I don't know. Weren't you confused after last week? Like what in the heyday happened? Why were people? Why did Michelle vote for Tyson? I thought she was on the Tyson side. It was very confusing last week. And that leads me to my question. What did you think about Tyson going home?
I think it was kind of inevitable. I wasn't really confused. I think that once Jeremy left, everyone was scrambling around and they just all landed on the easy target.
But why did Michelle vote?
Because I'm sure she didn't want to go against the flow. Like, I'm sure she heard the whispers. I'm sure someone told her to do it. Yeah. She didn't have... I don't think she had any idea of what to do, so she just hopped on board the train. The Tyson train.
I don't know, man. I think last week was confusing, but I'm glad you're not confused because I was confused as to like what happened. I felt like there was like 5 minutes of strategy last week.
Yeah, they didn't give us a lot of information.
And I think it's very unfortunate Tyson went because it's almost like the only reason I even thought Tyson might be going is because Tyson randomly says in the episode, "Hey, I could be going this week," and it's like, why would they show that unless Tyson's going home? Because no one else is talking about this, and they've been doing that all season. Though let's contrast that to this week, because I think this week was way better in terms of letting us know what's going on and who potentially could go home. I didn't feel like, there's this one little tidbit they threw in there. So let's walk through this week's episode from the beginning. So the episode starts, and what happens, Mary?
Well, it starts with Jeremy back at camp all alone, tending the fire.
And they had that one cool little editing thing when he says... I think he said something like it all went up in smoke or up in flame or something like that. And then the fire on screen actually like got bigger.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, they were toying around with that. Which also, side note, I really like the shot when they came back from commercial and was like showing the ocean. And then the Winners at War plank was like falling to the floor of the ocean. Yeah. That was a pretty cool shot. Just appreciating the cinematography of the season is definitely something I've been enjoying. But yeah, Jeremy's like, I had to get out of there. I knew I was going home. And, pretty much in this episode, we were confirmed, yes, Jeremy was going to go home if he did not play an idol, which he did the next best thing, which was get out of tribal last week. Thankfully, it worked out for Jeremy because that was the last tribal he could play it at anyways. So,
it was a smart move. Yeah,
it seemed after last week when Wendell was like, oh, he just ditched out and is like, when he ditched out on them, and it seemed like, oh no, it's gonna look bad on Jeremy. So remember, when we started this episode today, I was like, I think Jeremy's gone because he ditched out on them. But as we learned, that is not the case.
No, because whatever Tony wants happens.
Well, spoiler, not really spoiler. I hope you're not listening to this if you haven't watched the episode yet. But or if you have, I hope you're okay with spoilers because that's what we're getting at. Jeremy's and then everybody comes back from tribal. Jeremy sees Tyson's gone. He's like, crap, Tyson was my meat shield. And now I had to get out of tribal, and now Tyson's gone. And Jeremy tries getting information to everybody. Everybody's like, oh, what'd you leave the tribal for? What'd you leave the tribal for?
Yeah, everyone was like not talking, but then at the same time, they're like, yeah, it was just the craziest tribal I've ever been through. And then Jeremy's like, well, what happened? Well, it was just crazy.
Well, you should have been there.
Yeah. And it's like,
I can't explain it. You should have been there, Jeremy.
I'm sure hopefully he got the rundown at some point from somebody, but.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, I'd imagine, but they were clearly not super happy at Jeremy left tribal, probably because they all wanted to get rid of Jeremy. Most of them did. And then the ones who were depending on Jeremy
were mad that he left.
Yeah, it was like that's why I said it seemed like I thought everyone was going to be mad at him, so he's going to be gone this week, besides the fact that he was already the target, but that did not happen. So Jeremy has that happen. Tony then decides, well, I've won an immunity challenge. I think now it's time to go full Tony and do that thing where I talked about in the first episode where I said, I'm going to keep my guard up. I'm going to be on probation. And then when they least expect it, I'm going to pop them. I'm going to pop, remember the little line in the premiere where he's talking about boxing or come up and punch them in. Yep. Sucker punching. This is now. He's doing it right here. This episode is the emergence of the sucker punch. But
he still waited till they were all asleep. He did it really early in the morning when he thought he wouldn't get caught.
Or really late at night. It wasn't super clear.
No, I said it was. He said it was early in the morning.
Did he say it was early in the morning?
So
he lives he has Red Bull in his veins, I think.
Yeah.
Energy drink in his veins.
He's crazy. But he did it. He found another immunity idol.
No, this is his first immunity idol. He hasn't found any others.
I just meant.
Oh, you mean overall in his career?
Yes, in his career.
Okay, I was confused. I was like
he was the idol king or
he found that super idol in Kaigan. Right. Really changed a lot of things. You're right though. He found the idol, but I really liked how Nick was out and about. He's like, oh, did you look over here yet? And he's like, you're cramping my style. It's like what he told us. He's like, Nick's cramping my style. I had to get him out. I can't do a Tony impression, but I had to get him out of there. It was pretty funny.
I'm surprised Nick believed him.
I mean, Nick, from everything I've seen in the season he won and this season, I don't think Nick's a super shrewd, cutthroat guy. He's always thinking everyone's out to screw him.
Sure.
I don't get that impression from him.
He trusts people.
I think he's a little bit more trusting. So no, I don't. And this season doesn't seem like Nick's even that much of a factor overall.
No.
I never hear from Nick. So, so Tony finds the idol. So now Tony has an idol in his pocket, which makes a dangerous Tony. That makes a Tony who plays with more confidence, which makes for a very fun TV for us. So after that, we cut over to the edge of extinction, and Natalie and Parvati, which by the way, who I believe also worked together on the previous task where they got Michelle to give them 4 tokens for the flip of a coin, if I'm not incorrect.
I think you're right.
Yeah, maybe they're becoming best friends or something. Anyways, Natalie and Parvati find...
I think they're the most go-getters on the island.
Possible.
I mean, Rob's a go-getter, but
I think he's only go-getter when he knows there's something to go get. He doesn't go get for nothing. He ain't out go-getting when there's nothing happening.
But Parvati and Natalie have been there so long. They I don't know. They were just out getting firewood and stumbled across it. But still.
Teaching everybody yoga. Natalie's just doing 20 miles a day, even on a spoonful of rice. So
crazy.
Yeah. And so Natalie finds a bottle. And correct me if I'm wrong. Did one of them say they thought it was going to be a bottle of wine or rum or something like that?
Yeah, they're like, well, who left a bottle of wine out here? like they assumed someone got a reward and drank it all and then just left it or something. I don't even know if wine was on the menu.
I believe it was. Ethan's on this week posted a munchies list, which was actually just a re-edited image that I did for him. And I believe a bottle of wine was on that list when I looked at it.
Could be right.
So... You're right. It's possible they could be like, oh, somebody bought a bottle of wine and then tried to hide it.
That would have been funny.
Somebody's out there getting buzzed without me knowing. I mean, Tyson did eat the peanut butter. So I can't wait, by the way, till the end of the season when Tyson can tell us what happened with the jar. Did he keep the jar? What happened with the jar? I doubt he threw it out in the ocean. And Survivor Productions not here's a trash bag. What do you do with the jar after he's done?
Bury it. I would imagine.
I guess. Yeah.
Or give it. I don't know.
I wonder if everyone knew. Anyways, I'm very curious at the end of the season when we get the end of the season retrospectives from everybody. But anyways, yes. They find the bottle of not wine and it has a note in it. And it says, this is an extortion advantage. Now, this is the first time we've ever seen anything called, let alone work like an extortion advantage does. So what is an extortion advantage, Mary?
Basically, it's up to you to determine how many tokens you want for it. And if the player does not give you the amount of tokens that you want,
by a certain time,
by a set time limit, you're blocked from playing in the immunity competition challenge, and you cannot vote at tribal.
Yep.
Which is crazy.
So you're blocked from tribal. You're blocked from voting at tribal. And you can't compete in the immunity challenge. So Parvati and I don't know how they came up with this number, but Parvati and Natalie came up with that they want 6 tokens, and they sent it to Tony, and they're like, "Who's a real go-getter?"
But who will cause chaos? That's what they said.
Yeah. So Tony gets the advantage and he comes barreling around the corner, falls down, pulls out the advantage, goes, this is an extortion advantage. He goes, ha ha ha, yeah, I've been like, watch all the movies. It's like so much fun, like the mafia people. And he's like,
he was so excited.
He was like so excited. He's talking about how like this should be illegal and like it's illegal in the States, should be illegal in Fiji. And then he gets to the end of the advantage thinking that he's going to be able to block somebody from playing the Immunity Challenge and voting, to finding out that, no, wait, this is being played against him, and now he needs to cough up 6 tokens, and he only has 3 before the Immunity Challenge, which is an undetermined amount of time on screen. We don't know exactly when that is. I'm assuming it's the same day, but who knows? We don't see every night that happens on Survivor. So Tony has to find 3 more tokens, and it's not like you can just go find tokens out in the forest. You have to get them from other people or win them at a challenge. And of course, the next challenge is the Immunity Challenge. So he has to get them from other people. So he at first approaches Michelle. And what happens with Michelle, Mary?
Well, Michelle would have given him tokens, I think.
That's what she said.
That's what she says. So if she'd had them. But, I mean, he did. It was a good play.
Why didn't she have tokens, though?
Because she bought that 50-50 coin.
With how many tokens?
Well, she said 4. Was it really 4?
Yeah, it was 4.
Okay, I couldn't remember.
No, it was 4.
But of course, she lies about it and says, no, I bought an advantage, but it's only for when I get to the edge. So that he doesn't think she has an advantage right now currently.
Yeah, and Tony believes her because he just got a thing from the edge saying he needs to pay 6 tokens. So he's like, oh, that's believable that somebody would pay 4 tokens for an advantage at the returning. She hasn't even got to the edge yet, but somehow, I mean, I guess it's an outside the realm possibility. An extortion advantage just entered the game of Survivor. So yeah, Michelle's like, I ain't got no tokens. So Tony then barrels his way over to, I believe,
Jeremy.
Jeremy was first?
Yep, Jeremy was first.
Jeremy was first. And Jeremy has 2 tokens. He's like, well, I'll give you 1. So he gets 1 from Jeremy.
Because remember, he said he wanted to go to his fake alliance first.
Which was Jeremy at the time.
Which was Jeremy and Michelle.
Yeah.
And then he realized that wasn't going to be enough. So he had to go to his real alliance.
So he goes to Nick, and Nick gives him 1. And then he goes to Ben, and Ben gives him 1.
Yep, everyone loves Tony.
In a matter of... everyone's just giving up tokens to Tony. Like, I mean...
But he had a good point with Michelle. He was like, I really want to help you all. I want to flip over to you guys, but I won't be able to vote with you unless I can vote. And so it really did. They really needed him.
He played it really well.
So he did play it well. So that's why he went to them first, because his alliance didn't necessarily need him.
Because I think it would have been one thing if it's just that he couldn't play in the Immunity Challenge, but it was the fact that he couldn't vote. And if he doesn't vote, it's potential in their mind. There's only 8 people very easily.
Numbers matter.
Yeah, numbers matter, but essentially, but they'd be voting with only 8 people instead of 9 people, and odd numbers always make for possible ties, of course.
So he got
even numbers always make for possible ties. So he gets his 6 tokens, and
just in time.
Just in the nick of time. And then we're at the, which by the way, I'm very impressed by Tony. I feel like we skimmed, but I'm very impressed by Tony convincing all those people to give him tokens. It doesn't matter where they're from in terms of current alliances. He got tokens from 3 out of 4 people that we saw.
Like Sarah, who's usually portrayed as his best.
Yeah.
So,
you would think. And it's as far as I'm aware, Sarah has a token or 2 because she has not spent any that we've seen. So, yeah.
Oh, we did completely skip over the fashion show. Or was that after the Immunity Challenge? Sorry. I think that was
it was after the Immunity Challenge.
Yep,
Good point.
Go ahead.
We haven't quite got there yet, but thank you. So we get the Immunity Challenge, and I don't remember them doing this earlier in Survivor, though Jeff says that this challenge has been played before. I believe him. I just don't remember off the top of my head. But it's a challenge where basically it's almost like last week in terms of it's a game of patience and endurance. It's both, because you have to hold a pole. And what are they doing, Mary? They're basically holding up like an idol or a statue.
Yeah, it's a statue. Balancing the statue.
And if their pole moves the wrong way or too much, that statue drops real easily. It's like sitting on like such a small little, what would you call it? Curve corner.
Post.
It's not. Is it on a post?
Yeah, it was on a post.
Okay. Well, I didn't pause it and look real close. Yeah, so it's that, and we once again we get all the way down to Jeremy, Ben, and then Tony. Surprising, Tony lasted that long, outlasted all the girls. So I thought this would be actually a challenge where like Denise would win, because it's not necessarily about strength; it's more about endurance. But we get down to them, and Ben drops, and then like 2 seconds later, Jeremy drops, and Tony wins immunity back-to-back weeks. Mm-hmm. Putting in my mind, now he has a target on his back.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think Tony doesn't care anymore. I think he's done with caring about whether he's a target or not.
I think he's ready to play.
Yeah, I think that's what Tony was saying basically all episode. Like, I've been playing patient all game. Oh, he's like, he seems so like exasperated, but he's like, oh, I'm so tired of being patient. I just want to go crazy. Yeah. And everything we saw this episode was Tony going crazy because Tony wins immunity, and then everyone's like, okay, well, let's vote out Jeremy. It's what we were going to do before. Mm-hmm. So Sarah's like, all right, here's the game plan. She's talking with Kim and Denise, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's Ben and Nick.
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, those are the
Sophie
5.
Was there.
And then they assume Tony is on board, I think. Yes,
yeah, because Tony had just gone off with Jeremy to get fireworks.
So they assume that Tony's with them. So they assume they have 6 votes. And they're like, okay, we'll put 4 votes on Jeremy. And just in case something happens, we'll put 2 votes on Michelle. Now, I don't 1,000% follow this math because if the 3 people of Jeremy, Michelle, and who's the third person I'm missing?
Denise?
No, not Denise. Denise and Kim flip on Jeremy.
I know, but
Michelle, Jeremy, and who else voted with them at the end? At the very end of this game, do you remember, or are you tripping too?
I know. Sorry, just a second.
I know. Right before we record the podcast, we like reviewed everything. We're like, who voted for who? We had it all down, and now I'm tripping. I'm looking to see if the voting history is updated on here. It's not updated as far as I can see on the Survivor Wiki.
Wasn't it Denise? No.
No, it's not Denise. Denise, Kim, Sarah, Ben, and Nick all vote for
Nick, duh. Because Tony gets Nick in with him.
Okay, my bad. Yeah, you're right. So I think me saying Nick messed that up. Yeah, I gotcha. So their math is that they're going to do 4-2 split, but there's still 3 people voting one way. So I'm not sure 100%. Maybe they were anticipating something else happening. I don't know.
Well, they didn't know about any other. They only know that Jeremy and Michelle are together.
Yeah.
They didn't. There was no third person.
Okay.
That would have been voting.
Oh, so maybe they were actually going to do like a 4-3-2 split. I don't know. Anyways, it wasn't. Sometimes these things fly by so quick in the show. But basically, it doesn't matter because that's not what happens. So what ends up happening is they decide to split the votes between Michelle and Jeremy, with Jeremy being their target. And they think that everyone's good, and this is the game plan. Tony decides, screw that. I'm actually going to go and save Jeremy. And so he goes and talks to Nick. And Nick's like, yeah, I'll do it. Whatevs. And he's like, oh, that was easy. And he like gives him like a fist bump. And he goes and talks to Jeremy. And Tony did explain that he waited until like minutes before they're going tribal. I'm guessing probably half an hour, based on how long. I mean, Tony does move fast, but you know what I mean? Like, what do you think? It was probably like 15 minutes, 30 minutes before they went tribal? Because he had to talk to Nick and then he talked to Jeremy, but he didn't have time to talk to Michelle. He said Jeremy had to talk to Michelle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jeremy still had to have time to talk to Michelle. Mm-hmm. Or at least enough time.
I'm sure it was not that long before tribal.
It wasn't long. But he purposely waited, he said. A very good, smart move, I think, that we've learned throughout Survivor. Sometimes the last name is the name that goes. It's not necessarily the name they came up with 3 days before. So if you're going Survivor, just don't throw out the first name. Ignore that one. Mm-hmm. Whatever the last name is, that's the one that gets done. So Tony proposed to Jeremy, and Jeremy ain't believing him. He doesn't believe it. He thinks because Jeremy had just previously had a conversation with Kim and Denise,
right? And
Kim and Denise are like, yeah, definitely, we're gonna vote for Ben because that's who Jeremy wanted gone. Because Ben has been annoying Jeremy, a la how Ben had been annoying Adam, which I'm noticing a trend now. Maybe Ben just annoys people, or certain people. Yeah. So he thinks he's good, and they're like, no, we're flipping on him. But so he tries to convince Jeremy before tribal, and
I wasn't sure if he did it.
Yeah, they go in tribal. They don't tell you, of course. They got to leave. But I think this was a lot better because unlike last week where it was like, here's our targets. Tyson's like, maybe I'll go. And that's like how the only way you would know. Yeah. This week it's like, okay, clearly we're either getting Jeremy, we're getting Michelle, or we're getting Sophie. That was the name Tony decided on, Sophie. Mm-hmm.
Because she was getting too close to Sarah.
Yep. Because she's getting too close to Sarah, who, by the way, Tony left out of his voting plan here. Yep. Not the smartest of moves. Even though even though I'm like 1,000% on board with Tony winning this thing, there are some glaring flaws he's going to have to either deal with or fix, or he's going to be voted out because of them. So,
well, I think he left her out because her and Sophie were so tight. And he knew he had the numbers.
Yeah.
But yes, as we saw in the preview for next week.
It's true. Sarah and Sophie have been close a lot of this game from the time they went to Yara and got rid of Boston Rob. So it's been quite a while in this game. And who knows outside the game, if they could be super close. I don't know everyone's relationships outside the game. But we get to Tribal, and shockingly, no advantages are played. I mean, Sophie had an idol. Tony has an idol, but they play their votes. They do the votes.
This was like one of the only tribals I remember recently where when Jeff asked, how was it at camp that day? Everyone's like, oh, it's quiet. It was chill, which means it may well have been pretty quiet. Like they may have had that one and it showed them playing checkers and stuff. So like, yeah, don't sing the song.
Well, because I think somebody said you better. Anyways, yes, yeah. Everyone's like it's quiet, which is unusual.
Which is unusual, and they're all Survivor winners, so you
Yeah.
think they would know. Hey, maybe something is up, and I think that's another reason Tony waited till the very end because there was no second scrambling or third scrambling or whatever. It was just okay. We got a plan, and then everyone stuck to it, and then nope, Tony was like coming in, swooping in at the end to do what he wants.
Basically, yeah. So they go to vote, and it's exactly as if you're rooting for Tony, it's exactly as you thought it was going to happen. If you're rooting against Tony, it's exactly how you hope it wouldn't happen. But Tony convinced Jeremy, and sure enough, it was 3 votes. 3 votes Jeremy, 2 votes 2 votes Michelle, and everyone has this like look on their face like things are going exactly as I planned. And then the moment that Sophie vote comes up, oh crap, we see on the screen like Sophie, like they clearly didn't see that one coming.
No.
Sophie. Last vote, Sophie. Sophie's gone out of the game, which by the way, Mary, you may not know, was a lot of people's winner picks based on the edit.
Yeah.
But I believe Sophie's winner edit was gone, I think, basically after we hit the merge. I feel like I haven't seen much of Sophie.
I haven't seen much of her lately.
The first half of the game, yeah. And we do get a confessional when she goes on the edge and says, before the season I was considered a bottom tier winner, which is fair, she was. Or it might still be, I don't know. But I feel like I've really proven that I'm more than I've played a better game. And I will agree. I think
she played a good game.
She played I don't know if it's a better game here because the best game is always the one that wins.
With this group of people, I would say it's a better game.
It was a more, she definitely took charge this time versus last time where it felt like she was under the wing of Coach while making snarky remarks about how Coach is an idiot and making fun of the movie Jack and Jill, classic. But yeah, so Sophie goes home. And how do you feel about that? Because 2 weeks ago, you said you think Sarah or Sophie's going to go home. I said I was thinking Nick or Tyson because Nick had been buried in the edit. And I'm still on board with that. So in essence, you were off 1 week, but you ended up being right just a week later. Yeah. So
I mean,
was this a smart move?
I think the biggest concern is, did Tony jump the gun a little early with his crazy game that he's got started? I don't know. If you're going to do it, you might as well do it now because so we've said that next week should be a tie 4-4 if he sticks with the alliance of Jeremy, Michelle, and Nick.
Yeah, like nothing changes, but that's not typically how it happens in Survivor.
Not typically.
Not in this modern Survivor.
So, I don't know. I think he wanted to go ahead and start playing. I don't think he could wait anymore, and I think he did it well. I mean, his plan succeeded.
Yeah.
And
Was this the right time for him to start going crazy, or should he have waited another vote or two?
I don't know if you can wait another vote or two because one of the reasons he wanted to keep Jeremy was he needed a meat shield, and I think if you let Jeremy go, wouldn't be too long before Tony would be going. Yeah. So yes, I think he did have to do something.
Yeah, it really is. It really is coming down to like, at what point do you just have to start? You have to take the reins. And Island of the Idols isn't the greatest example. So I'm going back 2 seasons ago to Edge of Extinction when everyone's talking about pilots or passengers. And it seemed like every time somebody took, for lack of a better term, the pilot seat of the Survivor airplane, they would end up getting the seat taken from them. Somebody would come up with their gun and terrorize them out of their seat and shoot them. aka the vote him out of the game. I know that was very. But that was the analogy they were using as pilots and passengers. The passengers
they never had terrorists.
A passenger would come up and kill the pilot and take over, and then the next passenger come up. But that's what was happening.
No one mentioned killing.
And so Tony thankfully has an idol in his pocket. So if somebody does try to come up and shoot him, it's KK because he'll just block him with his idol.
So
if he plays it right,
the only person I could really see taking him out right now is Kim, because I think Kim is doing a good job
and has been on to him.
She's on to him. She's smart. She's just still one step behind him. But if she can catch up, and if she can use the momentum of Sarah getting angry at Tony, I don't know. I don't think it'll happen. I still think you're right. I think Tony will keep going, but the only person I could see taking him out right now would be Kim.
I mean, Kim's onto him, and Kim's working close. I mean, Kim's in that group of 5 that just got blindsided and became 4. So Tony does have an idol. Mm-hmm. They're going next week. We don't know who's going to win immunity. Tony could win 3 and would go back because he had never before the season never won individual immunity. Mm-hmm. He couldn't do it in Game Changers. He was voted out pre-merge, but he didn't win one in Cagayan. So here we are, and he's won back to back. So can he do it again next week? We'll find out, I guess. But I do want to circle back to the fashion thing. I know we got really caught up in the strategy, but we did see next week Tony has evolved. Season 1, or his first season he played, we get the Spy Shack. Season 2, we get the Spy Bunker where he goes underground. Earlier this season, he built the Spy Shack 2.0 or another Spy Shack, or I don't know. It was very similar to the one in the first season. Didn't go over well. Sandra clearly knew something was up, so she just moved away from the water well because that's usually where he puts his shack at. Next week, we get the preview, and it says he has built the Spy Nest. He is now up in the trees, hiding from people. How did he get up there without a ladder, Mary?
There are plenty of trees that are easily to climb. I'm surprised that more people haven't done it in Survivor, honestly, but because you have to be a little crazy, but you have to be really patient too. And
Tony's the same guy who everyone's knocked out sleeping is like, oh yeah, I'm up, I'm doing the fire, I'm gonna go look for an idol. He's just all jacked up all the time. It's an impressive thing to have.
That's pretty crazy.
But it has to also be annoying I don't know if you live with Tony, I'd imagine that's probably gotta be annoying. But yeah, he's already building Spy Nest, and I am looking forward to it. But this was the Tony Vlachos episode. If there was a breakout episode this season for anyone, and this was his.
Yeah.
I feel like we've had some episodes this season where it's been like, this is the star person of the episode. I felt like the Adam Tribal Idol episode, that was like Adam's episode, and it's the one who got voted out. Boston Rob had his episode where he implements the buddy system 2.0 on steroids, and that's the episode he goes home. Mm-hmm. We get Tony's episode, doesn't go home. No. I'm thinking, well, so let's do you have anything else let's talk briefly about the runway thing, which was
I just thought it was funny.
Well, it's something normally they throw in the secret scenes and we don't see, but I really feel like this week they limited the edge and really made up for with good stuff. I can't this is what I want to see. I just wish there was. I loved people on the edge in terms of on Survivor, but man, if you can't do longer episodes, I don't want to see the edge. Is basically where I'm at.
Well, I feel like one of the only reasons they showed it was to highlight the difference between Sarah and Tony.
That's fine. I wish they would show more things like this and then highlight how this can affect your game, because almost everything you can do in Survivor can socially help you. It's not all about finding the idols and playing. It's not all about that. The bonds you form win you the game. It harkens back to the first season of Survivor. You can't win unless these people respect you as a person. With the exception, I think, of a couple of seasons, namely the one Boston Rob one where everyone hated him, but he was sitting next to Philip Shepard, and I can't remember the girl's name, which is terrible, Natalie Tenorelli or something like that, and he just dragged the 2 worst people along. They're like, well, we can't vote for them, but we don't want to vote for you because we hate you. But Boston Rob still won. But with the exception of that season, it's pretty much who do we like the most? Who do we respect the most?
Right.
In some seasons, the juror will straight up ask, what did you get to learn about me? Those are usually new seasons, obviously not returning seasons, because everyone kind of knows each other already going into this. But yeah. No, the runway thing was fun, but it did highlight the difference between Sarah's making friends with everybody, and Tony's I don't want to do this. I imagine his wife wants to go clothes shopping when they're and he's like, I don't want to go do this.
Yeah, he just got up and left.
Yeah, he just basically. So I think it was such a fun episode for Tony that we also kind of, it's fun, but there are like holes in his game. He's not out there playing some perfect game. So either Tony is setting himself up to get kicked out at some point in an epic fashion, which reminds me of like Rick Devens in Edge of Extinction, where Rick Devens is like, holy cow, like if this dude gets the final 3, he's winning. Like I don't care that he's voting wrong every time, because that's not what the jury cares. And all that you have to do in Survivor is make the jury respect you and vote for you. That's it. That's all you have to do. Get to the end and make them respect you. It doesn't matter how you do it, as long as you're not breaking the rules. And I mean, at the rate we're going, if Tony can do that, and I mean, not have to be, I don't know. The biggest factor that just goes unknown, like if there was no Edge of Extinction, be like, I think Tony has this, but somebody could Chris Underwood this thing, come in at final 6 and eliminate Tony at fire.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that person's going to win. I'm not saying that, but it's possible that they could eliminate this huge threat, because they did this to us in the Edge of Extinction season, setting up Rick Devens as like the clear runaway favorite, and then he got eliminated. So it's like, well, I knocked out the king, therefore I should win. You know, is Tony becoming the king and then somebody knocks him out?
That's what I'm wondering.
I'm wondering too. We really won't know till the finale, because looking at the schedule, we have 1 hour episodes until we have 1 hour episode next week, if I recall correctly. And then actually in 2 weeks, we have a 2 hour episode, which is, I believe, just back-to-back episodes, because they haven't done one of those all season. The first episode was actually considered just one episode, despite being 2 hours. And then the finales of 3 hours, as it always is. So yeah, that's where we're currently sitting at. Next week's our last 1 hour episode before we get to everything else. So yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at the last 8 people remaining. And in this case, we are not considering any of the Edge of Extinction people, because frankly, I don't know. If anybody comes back from Edge of Extinction, I just don't know like who they are or what they're going to do. So it's really hard. So we're going to take the last 8 people, and we're going to say, it's a simple question, Mary. You're going to play the game. I'm going to ask you the questions. The question is very simple. It's, will they make the final 3? And you can only pick 3 people.
Okay.
So the 8 remaining people, we'll walk through one by one. You can only pick 3.
Okay.
Let me go alphabetically. First, we have Ben Driebergen. Is Ben Driebergen making the final 3?
No.
Wow, that was quick and mean. Why isn't, quickly in like a sentence or two?
Quick and decisive.
Yeah, why isn't Ben Driebergen making the final 3? What
I just don't see him having any close alliances right now at this point. And he's also not doing his crazy looking for idols, because he does feel comfortable. So I think it would be easy to get him out, to blindside him. Yeah, and it's not like he's been well liked either. Like we've seen multiple people say, I don't like Ben. Ben's getting on my nerves. Like Ben was okay, but now he's like getting on my nerves longer I live with him. So Ben's not making final 3. We're down to 7. Denise Stapley, final 3, yes or no? I'm gonna say no.
Why not? Denise is actually another fan
Denise
favorite.
has been doing really well. I would almost put her in there, but I think she's always, like I said, a step behind. She's just almost always on the wrong side of the vote, and she's smart, but I don't know. I just don't see it. Okay.
Next up is Jeremy Collins.
Jeremy,
is Jeremy make final 3? I don't. No. I concur. Yeah. I have a decent feeling. I feel like Denise has a good shot at making final 3. Even if she doesn't make it, I feel like she's at least in the finale. But Jeremy, no, I agree with you.
Yeah, I think Denise will make it to the finale for sure.
Tony saved Jeremy here, but if Jeremy makes it to the final 3, I would be shocked, because at final 10 we're already targeting him, which means how many votes can he really survive? All right, so next I have for you Kim Spradlin.
I really want to say yes on this one, because it's either going to be Kim or Tony. Those are my top 2
to win.
So, yeah. So, but if Kim's in the top, then Tony's not, and vice versa.
What if they're both in the top 3?
Then Tony would win, but like I said, Kim would be the only one who could take Tony out. She wouldn't go to the end with Tony.
Oh, you're standing Kim. So is Kim? You got to call it Kim in the final 3, yes or no? And it's, by the way, they weren't. This is not like, I'm not going to hold you to this. If someone from Edge and
I'm going to go with Kim.
All right. Next person is Michelle Fitzgerald.
No.
Really?
Except hot as take. A scapegoat, maybe.
I don't see her. See, this is the thing. Like, while the story we're being shown isn't about Michelle, it doesn't necessarily. I don't think Michelle's playing a bad game. I feel like I've seen maybe a more visible game this season than we did the season she actually won.
Oh yeah, she's doing a good game compared
makes me
to
feel
her
better
first.
about her.
Yeah.
I'm going to disagree with you here. Michelle's actually, in my opinion, I think she is a lock for Final 3. Really? Honestly, I don't think she's going home. And by a lock, I mean she could go at 5 or 6. I wouldn't be shocked, but I really have a strong feeling Michelle's Final 3.
You're probably right.
And Kim, I agree with you. If Kim's in the Final 3 with Tony, that would make for a great battle at the end. I don't see it though.
Yeah.
But if it happens, that would be exciting. Next up is Nick Wilson. So you've only picked one person, which is Kim. We're down to 3 people left, so you have to pick 2 of these 3. You got
I should have picked Michelle, but I'm gonna go.
You can if you want.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Nick just because I think if Tony gets the end, he'll bring Nick with him.
Oh yeah, if Tony's, and this is also I concur. If I believe Michelle and Nick are my first 2. I put in the final 3. Nick, even though we barely see anything of him, I think he's a classic GOAT at this point. As much as I hate to say that about Nick, I do like Nick. I think he's not a threat to win. Therefore, I think he does get not necessarily dragged to the end because it sounds like he wouldn't have got there otherwise. Sure. But I think he gets taken to the end. So then it comes down to who's your last person you're putting in the final 3 between Sarah and Tony. If it isn't obvious, yep. I agree. I think Sarah. Now, Sarah could be in the final 3, but I feel like the only reason I would have felt that before is because she was good with Tony, friends with Tony, and it seemed like they had a strong thing going. But now it seems like we reached a point where that's not going to happen. So it's one or the other. I don't feel like both are going to the final 3 anymore, where it could have been possible before. So, yeah, that's who we have for our final 3s. Mary has picked Kim. She has picked Nick, and she's picked Tony. That would be an exciting final 2.
Well, like I said, I think it's either going to be Kim and Nick or Tony and Nick.
This is the assumption there's no edge person. We're assuming if I feel like the survivors are smart, they're either not gonna vote for an edge person at the end, but we assume that an edge of extinction. Look how that turned out, or they just won't allow them to get there, which I think is the smart move. Don't allow them to get there. So I believe it'll be Michelle, Nick, and Tony, with Tony winning. Clear. I could see that. Tony wins with almost all the votes. I wouldn't be surprised with those 3 in the final 3. So yeah, we are not going to be back next week. We're going to take next week off, but we will be back for the last 2 weeks. So the 2-hour episode that happens in 2 weeks, we will have a podcast for you right after. And the finale we'll have, I don't know if it'll be right after the finale. It's a long night. Some of us have to work the next morning. So we'll have a podcast though, not long, the next day at the worst of the finale. So, all right, everyone, thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Oh, very quickly. The next video coming out, for those who did get to the end, thank you very much. The next video coming out on the YouTube channel is the story of Brian Heidick, over 46 minutes long. Super exciting. All right, now that that's out of the way, we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.